Hi friends! I'm so happy you're here today because I'll be talking about all the books I ended up reading in April. April ended up being a really good reading month for me. I believe I read over 20 books, but I did read a lot of middle grade, a lot of Goosebumps for Old School April. If you didn't know, I was a co-host for that readathon, which was so much fun. I do wish I got to hang out a little bit more online, but I had a blast, and thank you Kelsey from Slime & Slashers for asking me to be a co-host again for this year. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. It's a very more of a community event. It is team-based, it has teams, but it's not like competitive or anything like that. And yeah, I had a blast. I ended up watching a ton of movies, and some movies I have not seen before, so I will talk about that at the end of this wrap-up as well, because honestly I have some new faves. So let's get right into it because it is kind of a lot. I started off the month reading The Housemaid. Is that what it's called? Yeah, The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. And this is like a thriller, and you probably have seen this everywhere. I did enjoy it, but I was it's okay. The twist I saw coming, and it just seemed like really ridiculous and over the top, and also like the main character we follow at the beginning, because it does shift a POV. I was like, how can she be so like rude? I don't know, like she had like a very like closed, I don't know how to explain it, like closed-mindedness about the other woman, even though like she was being rude herself. Like both of them were like not great. But then you find out why. But anyways, I think I'm giving this one a 3-star. It was okay, and I did like the ending of it. I just don't see myself reading like the other book in this series. And then I read The Green Mile by Stephen King, and I loved it. I kind of knew I was going to love it. It's very sad. It's a very sad story, and I didn't cry. Did I cry? Maybe a little. I feel like there's no way you can read this and not cry, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. The mini-series of how it was released is actually on Tubi right now, so I might watch that this month. But I remember watching it as a kid, and I really liked it as a kid. But yeah, I really liked this. 5 stars for sure. And yeah, I don't want to talk about it. And then my book club pick for the Reaper Book Club from March, I actually ended up reading the beginning of April, and I had my live show with my co-host Crystal from Fiber Artsy, and I'll link that in the description box down below. We had an awesome chat. I actually came out, I think, liking the book more after we had our chat, and yeah, I really liked it. It's Strega by Johanna Leike-Holm. I will say this isn't quite a horror book. I feel like it's more of like a what is it, like a cozy, or like it has these witchy cozy vibes to it, mystery. It's about these young women who are working in a hotel in the French Alps, and it's very secluded. The town of Strega is a little weird. There's like some weird stuff going on, but it felt like a mystery, like almost like a noir a little bit, because you only have one POV of the women in there, and it's just like this mystery around it, and it's very ambiguous, and yeah, it was just vibes. I'm gonna say, I think Crystal like messaged me when she was reading it. I was like, this is vibes, but I'm loving it, and I really felt like the feminine vibes came through in this as well, and yeah, I really liked it. I like this cover, but I'm gonna put up a picture of like the English cover, and I love this cover as well. Like, and I feel like this cover kind of gives more of those vibes of what this is. But I ended up really liking it. I think I'm giving it 4.5 stars, around up to 5. Definitely one of my favorite reads of this year. And yeah, it was literally just vibes. So I'm just going to talk about all the middle grade books that I ended up reading in April, because it was kind of a lot, mostly Goosebump books, but I did read one of the Creepover books, The Truth or Dare. Creepover, this is the first one in the series, and I did enjoy it. I think I'm giving it 3 stars. It definitely didn't creep me out, and I feel like it didn't really have like those like twist endings that Goosebumps does. So yeah, I'm giving it 3 stars, but if I do see these anywhere else, I'll still pick them up because I think they're like a fun series. There was like some mixed technology and stuff in that, like IMs and stuff and emails, and I thought that was really fun and cute. And then I read Dead Time Stories Grave Secrets by A.G. Cascone. This was gifted to me by my friend Lauren from Happy Haunts Library, and I had a blast with this one. It is a spooky ghost doll story. These kids find a doll that was buried in a graveyard, and they're like, who would bury this doll? Oh my god. And it gets pretty spooky. I really had a blast with this one. I read it at work, in between my work, and I was just like sitting there like, this is the time of my life. So I'm giving it 4 stars. I'll definitely pick up more Dead Time Stories if I ever see them anywhere. And then I read a bunch of Goosebump books from my collection that I have not read in years. So a big stick out for me is definitely gonna be Stay Out of the Basement. Was so good. I forgot how good this is. Oh my gosh, the end of this is so crazy and climatic and good. So yeah, this was definitely one of the best ones. Barking Ghost had its moments, had its creepy moments, and it has one of those twist endings, and so does The Girl Who Cried Monster as well, has one of those great twist endings that I just love in a R.L. Stine book, in a Goosebumps book. So yeah, I had a blast with all of these. And yeah, I would say almost all of these are probably like 4 stars, a couple 3 stars. I'm not going to go into like detail of it all, but yeah, it was a blast reading Goosebump books. And then I read the last book in the Indian Lake trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones, The Angel of Indian Lake, and I absolutely loved it. It was so good. I highly recommend the audio for this one. It is really good. I think the audio for all of them, they nailed it. The beginning of this is so good. It's just, I have goosebumps thinking about it. It had like these 90s like slasher ghost paranormal like vibes at the beginning of it. So good. And Barbara Crampton is the narrator for the opening. Fantastic. And then we're back with Jade throughout all of this, and it was so good. There's some really like slow, tense moments in this where I feel like Don't Fear the Reaper had these like really fast actiony parts, and this one was like, I'm gonna take some time and give these like slow, tense, dread-filled parts, and I was like this the whole time. Like, I was so nervous, and yeah, I was right at the edge of my seat. It was fantastic. It was great. And then there's a bit of like a mystery aspect to this still, and yeah, Stephen King also has a part in this where his part that he reads for the narration, I was like tearing up. And then Stephen Graham Jones' author note, I teared up. So I'm not going to go into like all of that, but yeah, fantastic. 5 stars. This is one of my favorite trilogies or like series like ever written, ever. It's so good. It has like a fantastic metaphor in it, and it just comes full circle too at the end. So very excited to see this series get an adaptation, and I hope the adaptation is done well. I heard Stephen Graham Jones in an interview talk about he's in talks right now about it getting an adaptation, so I was super excited for that. And yeah, I just love it. I love it. 1,000,000 stars. So sorry if I sound sick. I've been sick. I don't know if it's allergies or sickness. I don't know. But yeah, sorry. I just realized I probably sound different. Yeah, on to the more books I read. I ended up reading Thorn Hedge by T. Kingfisher. This is a little fantasy novella, and I read this because I was kind of like wanting like a nature spring like fantasy thing, and this is perfect for that. This was absolutely perfect. It knocked all of those boxes for me, and I absolutely loved it. I actually really enjoyed this one too. It was very atmospheric and cozy and funny. It had like the T. Kingfisher dialogue in it that's hilarious, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really liked the main character who's a toadling, and what she has to do. Like, yeah, it was great. It's a great little 110 pages, and I'd highly recommend the audio as well for this one. And then I read a thriller called The Host, a little thriller novella by Brandon Massey. This was ridiculous. I kind of knew it was going to be ridiculous because it's a Brandon Massey book. No shame on Brandon Massey, but he does tend to write really like almost slapsticky, melodramatic thrillers that have like crazy twists and stuff in it. This one not so much. It was only like 60 pages and on KU. I was reading it like before I went to sleep at night. But yeah, it was like very zany and goofy. Yeah, it doesn't really stick out or anything to me. I think I'm giving it 2.5 stars. I'll round up to 3 on Goodreads. And then I read Your Shadow Half Remains by Sunny Moraine. This is another novella as well. This was for the Pyramid Book Club pick for April, and I mean the cover is awesome. It sounded really cool, but getting into it, it was not my cup of tea. I just did not care for this. I think in the vlog where I read this, like the only vlog I did this month, I'll link it in the description box down below. I go into more detail why I didn't like it. It just felt like nothing really happens in it, and it's very short, but I just felt like nothing really happened in it, and it was like stuff was not explained in it very well. So I'm giving it, I think I'm gonna give it a 1 star actually. I think I gave it a 2 star in my vlog, but now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I have no idea. I remember like 2 things from this. And then I was going to try to vlog me reading some like horror arcs, and that just did not happen. I think I had like 2 clips or something from me reading these arcs and just kind of went out. But anyways, I read Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. I had an arc of this. This comes out in July, I believe, and I just could not wait. I was just like, it is time for me to read this arc, and I loved it so much. Chuck Tingle books have, well, I've read Camp Damascus and this one. There's something really unique about his blend of using sci-fi horror in his stories that I find so intriguing and like interesting, and this one especially kind of hit very close to, I think, to everybody's. If they're going to read this, it's going to hit close to everybody because it goes into something that's very relevant in today's like media and culture and stuff. So I'm really interested to see what everybody thinks of this one, because I think it asked those really interesting and important questions that I always look for in sci-fi horror. But I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. It was great. I am so excited for everybody to read this one. The opening of this is fantastic. It kind of opens in this, like, and it sets the whole vibe. It opens in like a studio in LA, and this writer is fighting for his characters to you know, come out, and the studio people are like, no, you have to kill him off, and he's like, this is what Hollywood has done since the beginning is bury their gaze. It's just like so good. So yeah, that's how it opens up, and then stuff gets crazy, and yeah, I just absolutely loved it. I loved the characters, and yeah, 5 stars. This is one of my favorite reads this year for sure. And yeah, I'm just excited for everybody to read it. And then I read Grey Dog by Elliot Gish. This is a very slow burn contemporary historical horror book, like set in 1910 of a school teacher we're following in a small town, and she starts to notice like stuff in the woods, and like the woods are calling to her, and there's like dead animals and stuff. I really liked this one as well. I will say it is very slow though. It is a very slow burn, but I feel like it has a great payoff at the end, which if it didn't have that payoff I would be like bummed, but it's a solid 4-star for me, and I think a lot of people are gonna like this one. I think this is a great like beginner horror book, and yeah, I recommend it for people who like those like historical settings, and like slow burn, and you're with one character like the whole time. Then I read an arc that was sent to me by the author, I think I'm Alone Now by Ali Say. This cover is fantastic. It's perfect for old school April. That's why I decided to read it in April. And I was not expecting this to take the very dark turn it took. This got so incredibly dark, and I think that's what made me really like it, actually, is how dark it got. How many times am I going to say dark? So we're following a girl in the 80s, and her neighbor is being a little creepy towards her. He's like, hey, I need to talk to you, like, alone. She's like a 14-year-old girl. She's like, no, you're a creep. I'm not going to be alone with you. And then there's just like other stuff going on. Definitely had those 80s vibes throughout it. And yeah, incredibly dark, violent. There is some animal cruelty in this, but it didn't feel like it was there for no reason. You know what I mean? So just a heads up if you're gonna check this one out. I believe it is coming out at the end of May or middle of end of May. And yeah, I really liked it, and I'm giving it 4 stars. And then I read a Fear Street book. This is a Fear Street saga book, which is apparently like the old, like Victorian ghost Fear Street books. The Hidden Evil. And this just has like such a crazy cover on it. I really liked this. I really enjoyed it. I'm giving it 4 stars. I like kind of devoured it. I wanted to read more. It hooks you at the beginning. It's like these people are gathered around a fire in the 1800s, and they're telling a story from like 20 years ago or something. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was super fun. I need to get my hands on more Fear Street sagas for sure. And then I read I Know What You Did Last Summer by Lewis Duncan. Definitely very different from the movie, but there is a murder in it. There might be more than one murder. I don't want to give anything away, but there's like a big mystery aspect to this. Lots of people going back and forth of like kind of like a whodunit and why is this happening. Definitely not as dramatic as I Know What You Did Last Summer with Jennifer Love Hewitt screaming into the sky and that part, which is hilarious. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one too. This is another book I got to read at work on downtime, and I'm giving it 3 stars. I read Skin by Kathy Koja. This was my friend Amy's book club pick for her Dark Hearts book club over at Amy Noel Reads, and I absolutely loved it. Oh, I knew I was gonna love it because it's Kathy Koja, and this one is very different from the cipher, but I feel like the themes are still there since we're following artists. Still, we follow a metal sculptor who is, you know, just trying to get into have shows, sell her work, and, you know, do the artist thing, and she ends up hooking up with another artist who is a dancer, and they start doing these shows where she's sculpting and people start to get hurt, and that is what people are into. It's like a thing, and yeah, where this went to, I was like, oh my gosh. It's not like extreme or anything like that. It's more of like, what the heck are people thinking, you know? Like, it's like, why would you be drawn to something like this? It kind of very much reminded me of that episode of The Simpsons with Isabella Rossellini and like the modern art episode where Homer makes his art and he's like angry. It's like expressionist art or something, and like people are like, oh my god, this is great, you know, like outsider art. And it gave me those vibes, but definitely more serious. And it has like a relationship, it has some romance vibes in it as well, and it almost has like cult vibes too, like how the cipher ended up having like those cult artist vibes in it. But yeah, like it was great. It was fantastic. I can't believe I've never really heard of Kathy Koja's like work before, other than like the cipher, and that was pretty recent of last year. But yeah, I'm excited to read more, and I'm also like kind of intrigued, like she must have been an artist or something, because it's just like too close to home. I feel like it's telling a really truthful story of like how art is made and stuff, like how artists think, how they live, how they manifest, how they create, what is like inspiration to them and stuff. Like, it's really interesting stuff there. Still, like, I feel like those themes that are in the cipher as well, like where does inspiration come from, and how do you execute that, and how do you keep it going? Yeah, very interesting stuff in Skins. Oh, another new book I also read an arc for was The Castle of the Cursed by Romina Garber. I believe this is a YA, like, gothic horror book. The opening of this is really interesting. It's very like hooking. It is a girl on the subway with her parents, and there's like a gas leak and everybody dies, and she ends up in the hospital. She's the only survivor, and she has to go live with her aunt in Spain in this like huge castle and everything, and she starts to learn like the family history and stuff like that. It was good. I did like this. I liked where it went. It was very weird. But there is some like weird romance things that happen in this that I was just like confused about. But that just might be like, I'm not a romance person as well. It was definitely like insta-lovey. But also like, I was like confused by it as well. So I think I'm giving this one like a 3.5 star or 4 star. I did really like the reveal and everything in this, but it is like more fantasy horror book. Like, it has like magic and stuff in it. I read The Sentinel by Jeffrey Vince. I don't know. This is a paperback from hell. I believe it was written in the 70s, and it's on my list, my 24 and 24, and the audio is on Everand. Totally forgot what that was called for a second. It's a very short listen. I will say the book is definitely way more religious than the movie, the adaptation. I mean, I feel like the religious tones are in the movie, but this one is like very religious. Like, I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this to be like super religious. And also like the boyfriend character that is in the movie, I don't remember, if I might be remembering incorrectly, but he doesn't really know what's going on until like the very end. But in the book, he figures it out like so fast, and he's just like okay with it. Like, it's weird. It's not that he's okay with it. He's just like, he doesn't ever have that moment of like, I can't handle what's going on, because it is a bit cosmic and weird, and he's just like, well, this is what's happening. Like, he's just like straight to the bit. He's like, I'm not gonna let it happen, you know, like, it won't happen, it's fine. And it's like, why aren't you freaking out? Like, I don't understand. But yeah, it's very, very similar to the movie, and I did enjoy it. I think I'm giving it like a 3 star. And then I read The October Society Season 1 by Christopher Robertson. This was super fun, and it fit a lot of vibes for old school April, a lot of vibes, a lot of prompts for old school April. This is kind of set up like Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like, it's these kids meeting and they tell each other like ghost stories and stuff, and it has all those vintage vibes in it, and yeah, I really liked it. I think it takes place on Halloween too, or like one of the stories takes place on Halloween, so it had Halloween vibes, so it's perfect for halfway to Halloween. And there's like little commercial breaks and stuff in it that have Easter eggs to Christopher Robertson's other books, which was super fun. And I had a lot of fun with this. This is like his PG-13 work. I think I said it in the vlog I did. I was like, I just wanted like more horror, but I'm also like, this is like not his rated R stuff. It's not Cotton Candy Massacre. It's not his slashers or anything. So I get it. And yeah, the soundtrack is really cool. I looked it up, the soundtrack on Spotify, and it's like so chill and like spooky vibes. I loved it. You can just scan the inside for that. But I believe these are available season 1 and season 2 on Kindle Unlimited. I believe there's a season 3 as well, if I'm correct, so you can check it out. Definitely for those spooky vibes for summer, be nice too. I feel like it has spooky like late summer vibes. The ending too is like kind of like heartbreaking and I was like not expecting to care as much, so definitely did a good job with this one. I'm giving it 4 stars. Then I read Mina and the Undead, which is book 2 in Mina and the Slayers series by Amy McCaw, and I had a blast with this. It was like just very cozy mystery, vampires, 90s vibes, Halloween vibes, those New Orleans spooky vibes happening in it, and I had so much fun with this. Also, like, one of the references in this is California with David Duchovny and Brad Pitt, and I have never seen that movie ever, and I read it, it was like, oh yeah, it's like a serial killer, Brad Pitt's a serial killer or whatever, and I was like, I have never heard of this movie. I need to watch it. It was on Tubi, and oh my gosh, I was just dying. I was dying. Brad Pitt brings it, and like David Duchovny brings it. It's like everybody's acting at like fucking 11 in that film. So if anything, Mina and the Slayers, I really enjoyed. I'm giving 5 stars, but also California, watching that for the first time in my life, was an experience. Juliette Lewis, just like quotable throughout the whole thing. I was just like, this is the epitome of a 90s road movie. Like, oh, it was fantastic. Both of these. So I knocked out one of my movie recommendations, but I would have never known about it if it wasn't for Mina and the Undead. Before I talk about movies, I just wanted to say I only have 10 books left after April on my Read What You Own challenge, which is very exciting. So this video is, so it's not super long. I'm only going to talk about 2 movies. I think I'm only going to talk about 2 movies. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I have never seen it before because I was always told it's horrible. Not just by Alex, but by like everybody who, I don't know, we were talking horror movies, so that Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is horrible. I don't know why. Listen, don't listen to people that tell you that a movie is bad because you might like it, okay? I love this movie. I think this movie is very important, especially if you are a Rob Zombie fan and you like House of a Thousand Corpses and you like the Firefly family. I think this movie is like the origin of that, right? Like it has Bill Moseley in it playing Chop Top, who's amazing. That is one of my new favorite characters ever. And the Sawyer family is the Firefly family, right? So I just loved it. The where they filmed it too is like an abandoned amusement park and stuff, and like because it's just like a big scope and like the detail of it, it's like almost like, yeah, an amusement park of like horror inspiration. Dennis Hopper in it, having a backup chainsaw during the chainsaw fight with Leatherface, so fantastic. He just like pulls out a, you know, you just have a backup, you know. Well, it was so good, and I cannot believe people hate on this movie. It is one of my favorite movies of all time now. Then The First Omen, of course I have to talk about this movie. This is a new release, and I went and saw it like at a matinee on one of my days off, and it truly blew me away of just how it was filmed in that very campy 70s style, and it had like those big sweeping like the music they use, like Rosemary's Baby-ish, and the choices that were made in this that happened pretty early, and it's like not even the climax of it that I think is very effective. It's like 40 minutes in, and as a woman, I feel like it will be incredibly disturbing and haunting. Just the themes of this overall, I think, are very relevant as well to today's culture, and just how it was executed, it was perfect. It was perfect. So this, after Lisa Frankenstein, I think The First Omen is one of my favorite new horror movies of this year. And yeah, I'm excited to see what else this director does. I believe this was a debut. And when you're watching it, you're like, this was directed by a woman. Like, it comes through. And yeah, it was just fantastic. And I hope everybody watches it that is into like religious horror. And yeah, it was awesome. Okay, there you have it. This is probably super long, but let me know in the comments down below what were some of your favorite books, movies, or anything that you did if you participated in Old School April, like your favorite thing you did if it was just eating 4 Pop-Tarts. Let me know, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.